When Emily Carter looked at me, eyes dull and shoulders slumped, and said she wanted a divorce, I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I simply said, okay. She offered the house, the car, full custody of our daughter Sophie, and $2 million in compensation and child support. I nodded, left the room, and picked up a calendar from the kitchen drawer. I circled the date in red. Day 1 of the 30-day countdown to the end of a 12-year marriage. 40 minutes had passed since she admitted she'd been cheating on me for 6 months. I slid the divorce papers across the table. She read them, face expressionless, then nodded. To save her the trouble, I packed her things, every dress, every shoe, even her old high school photos from the attic. 3 suitcases. I even included the framed wedding photo collecting dust in the corner. She looked bold and radiant in it, wrapped around me under the sunshine, whispering, I love you so much, I'm so lucky I married you. We met in college. She was the shy girl in worn-out sneakers, determined, ambitious, with this quiet fire in her. I fell for her instantly. I had plenty of admirers back then, but Emily stood out. After graduation, we got married. She launched a startup with her friend while I became a full-time dad, taking care of Sophie, handling the housework. As her company grew, her business dinners and late-night meetings multiplied. I still made time to stay fit, dress well, and even learn to cook better. In return, Emily tried to balance work and home, helped with homework, did dishes sometimes. People thought we were the perfect couple. But somewhere along the way, she stopped coming home on time. Night meetings became overnight stays. Friends warned me, joking I should keep an eye on her. I brushed it off, though something in my chest felt uneasy. I brought her late-night meals to the office a few times just to check. Nothing seemed off. Her team was always in meetings. And Ryan Kim? He was just there. Mid-40s, average height, slender build, quiet voice, soft-spoken. He was the front desk guy, not even a department lead. I didn't think twice about him. I even told Emily to look out for him. Heard he went through a tough divorce, was hard-working, kind, made pastries for the team, even handled people's lunch orders. Emily just gave me that typical boss answer, this isn't a charity. I already told the team not to cross personal lines. I used to tease her for being too cold-blooded. Now I realize, she wasn't being cold. She was protecting him. And that morning when I made her a hangover soup like I always did after her client dinner, she stared at it blankly, sighed, and pushed it away. Then came the words, can we get divorced? Her voice was tired. She admitted she'd been cheating. Every time she said she had to work late, she'd sneak off to a hotel with Ryan. My chest felt like it had caved in. I forced myself to stay composed, asked her who it was. When she said, Ryan Kim, I thought I misheard her. The man I thought was harmless. The man I told her to be kind to. I cooked dinner that night. Cleaned the kitchen. Sat on the couch and watched a show like nothing happened. She showered, came out dripping wet and yelled from the bathroom, babe, where's my towel? I didn't turn around. Packed. Use mine if you're not grossed out. I'll throw it out after. Silence. Then she came out and saw her bags stacked at the door. She sat down across from me, slid the divorce agreement back. I can give you $1.5 million now. The rest monthly. I cut her off. No. One-time payment. Clean break. I doubt he wants you talking to your ex-husband every month. Her eyes twitched, confused. Sophie's my daughter too. I have the right to be involved. This doesn't mean I'm walking away. You're not going to use her to get money out of me. I paused the TV and looked her dead in the eye. You cheated. The compensation and support are fair. Compared to your net worth, giving me the house, car, and money isn't much. I raised Sophie. She's sensitive, demanding, emotional. While you're off chasing some midlife romance, how much time do you really have for her? Emily fell quiet. Then she snapped, "I won't let you buy me out of being a mother." I flipped open the divorce papers. The 2 million isn't to buy you out. It's financial fairness. If you want to wire money to Sophie, I'll set up her own account. Emily let out a bitter laugh. I never knew you loved money this much. I smirked. So what if I do? Love didn't keep this marriage together, did it? She clenched her jaw, signed her name swiftly, and scheduled our court visit for the next day. Then she called her driver and left. The next morning, Sophie ran out of her room, hugging me tight, telling me she had the happiest dream ever. I told her softly, "Mom's got a lot of business trips coming up. She might be gone for a while." She looked up with those big eyes. "That's okay. I just want you, Daddy." I couldn't hold back anymore. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried like a fool. The guilt of not giving her a full family crushed me, but this wasn't my fault. I dropped her off at school and headed with Emily to the courthouse. The mandatory 30-day cooling period started. As we left, I circled today's date again on the calendar. 29 days left. I thought about telling my parents. They're retired teachers, open-minded, always supported me even when they didn't fully agree. But Dad's health hasn't been great. Maybe I should wait. Emily called me a few days later. She never calls, always texts. But I'd deleted her from my contacts, so I was surprised. "Your mom called," she said. "She made a bunch of food. Wants us to come over for dinner." I was thinking. Maybe we don't tell them yet. Wait until your dad feels better. I paused. No need. Don't pretend, Emily. If you cared, you wouldn't have cheated. Her tone tightened. Your dad's health, he might be physically weak, but he'd never want me stuck in a marriage built on lies. Then I added, Emily, don't call me again. If you want to see Sophie, follow the agreement. Once a week. That's it. Her voice changed immediately. James, she's my daughter to me family. I hung up. My chest burned with all the things I couldn't say. I went to the mall and replaced every single thing Emily had touched: bedding, couch, dining table. I wanted the house to look like she'd never lived there. That night I visited my parents. My mom saw my face and knew something was wrong before I even spoke. Mom, I said, voice cracking. She set down her knitting and looked straight at me. I told her everything. She handed me a tissue. It's okay, she whispered. These things happen. She betrayed you, and you deserve better. My only request, James, if you're sure about this, don't ever go back to her. I nodded. I won't. Dad stayed quiet for a long time, then gave me a red envelope. Today's a new beginning, he said. Congratulations on your freedom. May you always be happy. I cried the whole drive home. They'd supported me when I married Emily even when others didn't. They still supported me now. I looked at the calendar. 28 days left. Sophie said she missed Grandpa and wanted to spend a week with them. I took her over. She was overjoyed. Grandpa promised to fly drones with her. As we left, Mom waved from the driveway, watching me until I drove away. I checked the mirror. I looked pale, worn out. I fixed my hair, changed into a sharper jacket, and packed a bag. I needed air. I went on a trip, nothing fancy. Just a week of new places, new people, quiet stories. When I came back, I was a little stronger. More awake. More myself. I looked at the calendar again. 21 days left. Coming back from that week-long trip, I was calmer, but not healed. I stepped back into my house. Well, my house now, and everything looked the same but felt totally different. I'd torn out every trace of Emily, from the throw pillows to the kitchen utensils. I repainted the living room wall and changed out the curtains she once picked on a whim. I looked at the calendar again. Divorce countdown, 21 days. And it just so happened that my dad's birthday was coming up. This year, my parents decided to host a small banquet at a hotel not far from their place. 5 tables, just family and old friends. Sophie couldn't make it because of her weekend class, which honestly worked in our favor. I didn't want her caught in the middle of any awkward questions. But I knew they were coming. People still saw me as Emily Carter's husband, that model husband behind the successful CEO. They didn't know yet. As expected, relatives started asking about Emily before dinner even began. Mom and Dad deflected as best they could. Then, right before the meal, Dad got up to say a few words. And that's when she showed up. Emily. In full makeup, hair done, designer dress, holding a bunch of gifts and a bright red envelope. My relatives greeted her like she was still family. She walked up to Dad with that old polished smile and said, "Happy birthday, Dad." He looked her straight in the eye and said, "Thank you, Ms. Carter. That won't be necessary. We can't accept gifts from someone who's no longer part of the family." The room went dead silent. You could hear the clinking of cutlery freeze in midair. She tried to cover it up with a weak smile, but I could tell it cut deep. My mom, ever the graceful host, quietly returned the gifts and politely asked someone to see her out. She didn't argue. She just left. And nobody asked about her again. That was the moment I felt the tide turn. Everyone had been so dazzled by her success before, so obsessed with our so-called power couple image. But now, she was just another ex-wife with a messy scandal waiting to explode. That night, I finally dropped the label of Emily's husband. Property managers and doormen who used to call me Mr. Carter now called me Mr. Walker again. It felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I threw myself into my new business, the coffee shop I'd been planning. Found a place I liked downtown, bought it outright, and decided to renovate it with my own style. It came with staff, but I kept only the essentials. I wanted a full reset, just like in my life. New brand, new flavor, new space. It was my therapy, honestly. I stayed late the first few nights sketching layouts, adjusting the menu, selecting furniture. That's when I got a call from Nathan Reed, one of Emily's younger employees. A bright guy, always joked too much, but good-hearted. "James," he shouted, like we were still best friends. "You really getting divorced from the Ice Queen?" I didn't even flinch. "Yeah. It's official." He groaned like he was personally heartbroken. "Damn. Knew it. Figures it's because of Ryan Kim, right?" I froze. I hadn't told anyone about that. "Why do you say that?" I asked carefully. "Come on, man. Everyone at the office sees it. The guy's been acting all smug since you disappeared. He got promoted to office admin last month. Walks around like he owns the place. He even wears jackets and watches just like you used to. We all noticed. It's creepy, man." I laughed bitterly. Didn't think he'd be that bold. Nathan kept going, "I swear, if I didn't have a mortgage, I'd quit. The guy's insufferable. He used to be sweet, now he's just power tripping." I thanked him, said I owed him a drink, and hung up. That night, I came home and saw Emily's shoes by the door. My chest tightened. She was inside, playing video games with Sophie on the couch like nothing had ever happened. Sophie shouted, "Dad. Come on, help us beat Mom." I used to love moments like that. But not anymore. Emily looked up, smiled faintly, then told Sophie I was tired from work. "Let's let Daddy rest. He's had a long day," she said, patting Sophie's head. Sophie frowned. "Mom, when are you done with all those business trips?" Emily hesitated, then murmured, "Soon, honey. Very soon." She tucked Sophie into bed and stayed the night in her old room. I didn't stop her. I didn't ask questions. But as soon as she closed the door, I heard her phone ring. I couldn't help it. I listened for mine. Her voice was muffled but annoyed. I told you I'm only here for Sophie. Don't be paranoid. James and I are getting divorced. We're not even sharing a bed. Relax. I knew it was Ryan. Her tone was sharp. She sounded exhausted. After she hung up, she knocked on my door and said she had to go back to the office. Work emergency, she said. I answered without opening. Okay. 5 minutes later, I got a notification $5,000 transferred to Sophie's account. Emily left a note, take her somewhere nice tomorrow. I didn't reply. I stared at the computer screen, planning the next week's promo event for my cafe. Then a WeChat message popped up from a stranger with a flower emoji as their profile pic. Just a smiley face. No words. I clicked their profile. Empty. But the chat history 2 years old. I scrolled, confused. Then the stranger messaged, feeling proud of yourself? My blood ran cold. I typed back, who are you? And that's when he said it, Ryan Kim. It was him. No matter what you try, she'll still come back to me, he wrote. Then came the photos. At first, I didn't want to open them. But I did. Emily. Naked. Asleep. A man's hand across her chest. Dated February 16, 2023. My hands shook. That was the day of my dad's heart surgery. I remember because she told me she was busy, couldn't fly back until the morning. But she video called me all night, comforting me, calming my nerves. And the whole time, she had just slept with him. The betrayal twisted inside me like a knife. Ryan kept sending photos. More dates. Our wedding anniversary. Sophie's birthday. Every special moment she spent it with him first. Then came back to smile with us like nothing happened. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. My world wasn't just broken, it had been rotting for years, and I hadn't noticed. I went back to my desk and saved every single photo. I wasn't going to blow this up right away. Not yet. Our divorce wasn't final. The money wasn't fully paid. If I went public now, Emily's company would suffer, she'd stall the payment, and I'd lose my leverage. I could lose custody. No. That's not how I play. Ryan clearly didn't expect that. He thought I'd flip, scream, threaten Emily. But that's not my style. I knew exactly what he wanted, to push me into a scene so he could swoop in and look like the savior. But I wasn't going to give him that. Not yet. Still, I needed more info. So I called Nathan. He picked up at a team dinner, half drunk and buzzing with gossip. You won't believe this, he said. Emily got super drunk at a recent client event, and the CEO of another firm personally drove her home. Word is he's been messaging her ever since. That's when Ryan lost it. He started clinging harder, asking her to move in. It's pathetic. Everything made sense now. Ryan was panicking. He thought Emily might slip through his fingers. That's why he pushed. Why he stirred the pot. And why he sent me those photos to provoke me into burning it all down. I ended the call and stared at the ceiling. Divorce countdown, 14 days. I was done reacting. Now I'd start planning. After everything Ryan Kim threw at Meth, smug texts, the filthy pictures, the twisted satisfaction, I still didn't explode. I didn't drive over to Emily's office to yell, didn't confront her with evidence, didn't even tell anyone else. I played it smart, because I knew, whoever flips out first, loses. And I had no intention of losing to a low-grade office manipulator playing Romeo with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Instead, I started digging. I reached out to a private investigator I knew through a buddy in law enforcement. Guy was discreet, fast, and expensive, which was fine, because I had money now. Within 48 hours, he handed me a thick dossier. Ryan Kim, real name, Ryan Song Kim, age 41. Marital status? Married. Yup. Not divorced. Still legally married to a woman working at a factory in a nearby city, with a 12-year-old son. Oh, and his younger brother. Total loser, small-time crook, but completely aware of Ryan's relationship with Emily. That part actually surprised me. For someone so good at playing the humble, single underdog in front of Emily, he'd been hiding a whole damn family. I asked the PI if this info was solid. He gave me a smug thumbs up. Bulletproof. Want me to mail it to your ex? No, I said. Not yet. Because if Ryan was really playing the long con, then the worst thing I could do is blow up his game before I'm legally free. He'd just go underground, play the victim, and take Emily's money anyway. But if I kept this quiet until I had that divorce certificate in hand, then I could blow him sky high and walk away smiling. See, I'd underestimated him before. Thought he was just a clingy side piece desperate to get a title. But this was deeper. He'd been targeting Emily for almost 2 years. Grooming her, studying her, wearing her down until she thought he was the only one who truly understood her. A textbook scam. He probably never cared about her. She was just a stepping stone to cash and power. And now that the finish line was in sight, he wasn't about to let another man swoop in and take his prize. That's why he panicked. Why he started making noise. Why he showed up at my house. Yeah. That happened. I was getting home late after a long day at the cafe. New signage went up, new layout finalized, and the trial menu was getting solid feedback when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Ryan standing there with dyed hair, my exact cologne, and a knockoff of my favorite leather jacket. I almost laughed. James, he said, smiling like he owned the place. Sorry to bother. Emily left her household registration paperwork here. I came to pick it up. I didn't move. She took that with her. Try again. He leaned against the doorframe. I just figured since we're all adults here, we could talk. Man to man. Emily doesn't know I'm here, by the way. But I know you. I know how you think. You're calm. Controlled. Always looking for the high ground. I respect that. But you and I both know. She's coming back to me. I stared him down. So stalking me for 2 years wasn't enough? You needed to show up at my house too. He smirked, stepped past me like he owned the place, and started looking around. Nice. You redecorated. Must have been hard. Stripping her out of every inch. I followed him in. Sophie had just gone to bed. I was praying she wouldn't wake up. But no, the moment she heard a man's voice, she ran out. Daddy? Is Mommy here? Ryan turned, eyes lighting up like a freak. Hey, Sophie. I'm Uncle Ryan. Mommy's at work, but don't worry. She'll be back soon. Or maybe not. He chuckled. That's when I lost it. Not loudly. Not messily. Just pure, quiet rage. I pushed Sophie back toward her room, kissed her forehead, and told her I'd be there soon. Then I walked back to Ryan, grabbed his wine glass, already made himself comfortable on my couch, and smashed it against the wall. I grabbed his collar, shoved him toward the door, covered his damn mouth, and yanked him out of my house like the trash he was. You want to provoke me? I hissed. You want Emily to think I'm the crazy one? You're not even worth that. You come here again, I'll let the police handle it. He tried to square up, but I pulled out my phone and hit record. Instantly, he backed off, yelling curses as he stumbled to his car. Before he left, he made sure to call Emily. A few minutes later, she rang me, voice tight. Why did you hit him? He trespassed. He insulted Sophie. He baited me. What did you expect? She tried to lecture me about keeping things civil. I cut her off. Ryan is not just a homewrecker. He's a fraud. And if he shows up again, I won't be so polite. Also, I won't be attending your mother's birthday like you asked. Find someone else to play the role. Then I hung up. I wasn't her PR fixer anymore. Later that week, my PI called. "Your boy just told his wife he wants a divorce," he said. "Said he's coming into a big payout. Asked her to sign fast and quietly. They're meeting next week to process the papers." Classic. The moment he realized he needed to tie the knot with Emily quickly before someone better caught her eye, went into overdrive. The irony? He'd spent 2 years building this little empire of lies, and now he was sprinting toward the finish line like a clown in a knockoff suit. That weekend, I heard from Nathan again. "Dude," he said, practically screaming into the phone. "Ryan went nuts in the office today. He found out some new exec from another company had dinner with Emily and flipped. Started slamming doors, yelling at interns, total meltdown." "Let him crash," I said. "He's doing my job for me." My cafe finally opened officially that Monday. We had great foot traffic. The vibe was solid. Nathan even brought a few coworkers to try it out, said he missed my old snacks. We talked casually, but I could see in his eyes she knew. He knew how deep the wound went. "You doing okay?" he asked. "Better than ever," I said. Sometimes you gotta lose the wrong person to make room for peace. As the day ended, I looked at my phone. Divorce countdown, 10 days. Almost there. By the time the divorce countdown hit 10 days, I stopped thinking of it as an ending and started treating it like a launch date. I wasn't crawling out of a failed marriage, I was stepping into a version of life I should have had years ago, one where I wasn't constantly shrinking myself for someone else's ego, where I didn't have to justify being a good father, or feel like I had to apologize for not being the one chasing titles and IPOs. The cafe was doing well, better than expected, actually. A couple local bloggers posted about our espresso flights and DIY matcha bar, and foot traffic kept climbing. I stayed late each night, watching the staff gel, the regulars form, the space come alive. But of course, peace never lasts long when you're sharing oxygen with a walking red flag like Ryan Kim. Nathan dropped by one afternoon, eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. "You are not gonna believe what happened," he said, slapping his phone down on the counter. Apparently, earlier that week, Ryan had accompanied Emily to her mother's birthday back in her hometown. Nothing unusual except that this year, she didn't bring me, and word got around fast. A few people assumed she'd moved on. Others were confused. But Ryan didn't help matters. He introduced himself to the family like he was already the new man of the house. 2 days later, he showed up at her office like he owned the damn place, asking Emily in front of investors what she wanted for lunch, then out of nowhere pulled a knife out of his bag and asked her when they were getting married. Dead serious. In front of everyone. Emily froze. The investors ran. Security called the cops. Ryan was arrested on the spot. Nathan said the office buzzed like a beehive. No one knew what to believe at first. Emily released a vague statement, said it was a misunderstanding, claimed he was under stress. But it didn't matter. A few of the investors leaked the story to their network. Competitors picked it up and used it for social bait. Clients cancelled. Her brand, once sharp, elite, untouchable, was suddenly synonymous with chaos. She even had to pull down all the photos where she used to model for her own product line. Too toxic now. I didn't say a word. Not to her. Not online. Not to the press. But I wasn't shocked when she reached out. "Can I come by and see Sophie?" she texted. "Just want to check in." I told her no. She'd seen Sophie last week, and the next visit wasn't scheduled yet. I had no intention of letting my daughter near that mess. A few days later, she showed up anyway, looking like hell. Eyeliner smudged, hair frizzy, voice cracked. "James, can I come in?" I didn't budge from the door. "She's not home. She's with my parents." She nodded slowly, then asked if I could give her a ride. "Just want to clear my head. I've been thinking a lot about us. About Sophie. About everything." I let her talk, but didn't say much. Then right before I was about to drive off, she blurted, "I know I ruined everything. I wasn't thinking straight. I thought what we had was boring, that you'd always be there no matter what. But I was wrong. I messed it up, James. I know that now." I stared straight ahead. "What do you want from me?" "Another chance," she whispered. "I'll put everything in your name, our house, the properties, the patents, I'll sign anything. I swear I'll never cheat again. I just want our family back. Please." For a second, I saw the old Emily. The one who cried into my arms after her first investor backed out. The one who whispered that I made her feel safe. But that version of her had been gone for a long time. I shook my head. "Even if this is real, even if you're being sincere, which I doubt, none of that matters anymore. You're the past, Emily. And I don't recycle my pain." Her lip quivered. She tried to say something else, but I turned the engine and said flatly, "You should leave. We're done." She reached for her purse and pulled out her phone. "Wait, just look. I kept this account, this private blog. It's anonymous. I never told anyone. I wrote about you. About everything. Every moment we had. Even when I was cheating, I wrote down how guilty I felt. I tried to stop. I just didn't know how." She shoved the screen in my face. Dozens of posts, all time-stamped. Photos she'd secretly taken of me cooking, me reading with Sophie, me folding laundry. Captions filled with regret, longing, confusion. I didn't know what to feel. So I didn't feel anything. I parked outside her building. "You should go." "James, please, no," I cut her off. "Whatever you're trying to do, it's too late." She got out, stood in the cold, clutching her phone like it was her last shield. I didn't look back. Later that night, when I was cleaning up at home, I found that same phone she had left in my car still unlocked, still glowing with that blog entry page. I picked it up, stared at it for a long moment, then tossed it into the trash. I wasn't interested in curated guilt. I was interested in reality. And the reality was I had a business to run, a daughter to raise, and a future to build. No room for ghosts. That weekend, I put the final files together, the photos Ryan had sent, the timestamps, the receipts. Then I mailed them all to Ryan's real wife, along with a short note, "You deserve to know the full story. Divorce countdown, 5 days." I wasn't just letting go. I was burning the bridge, pouring concrete, and planting a garden over the ashes. The moment I dropped that envelope into the mailbox, something in me unlocked. Maybe it was closure, maybe it was pettiness, or maybe it was just the satisfaction of finally flipping the script after being the one played for so damn long. Either way, I walked back to the cafe lighter. Like I'd just taken off a backpack full of bricks I didn't even realize I was carrying. Divorce countdown, 2 days. The cafe kept me busy. We were getting local attention, especially after someone on Yelp called us the only place in town that brews espresso like it's a love language. I posted a pic of our new oat milk cold brew flight on my feed and slapped a caption under it, "Opening week magic. Growth tastes better without baggage." It blew up more than I expected. The comments were flooded with support and fire emojis, and of course, Emily saw it. She texted me later that night. "Nice post. Wanna talk before the final paperwork?" I didn't reply. There was nothing left to talk about. We'd crossed every line and circled back so many times the pavement cracked. When the day finally came, I got to the courthouse early. Sat in my car. Let the engine run. Breathed slow. This was it. The final click of the lock. The end of a marriage, a betrayal, a whole chapter that started with love and ended with silence. Emily arrived 15 minutes late, wearing a beige coat I bought her on our 8th anniversary. She gave me a soft, "Hey," like we were still friends, like she hadn't detonated everything. We signed the papers in silence. When the clerk handed us the divorce certificate, she held hers a second longer than needed. "Wanna grab lunch?" she asked, voice quiet. "I'm good," I said without looking at her. Then I walked out, let the wind slap against my face, and exhaled like I'd been underwater for years. That afternoon, I went home and opened the folder Ryan had sent Meth1 with the disgusting photos, the smirking comments, the time stamps. I put it all in a new envelope and shipped it express to his wife, complete with a thumb drive and a burner number in case she wanted to verify anything. No return address. No name. Just the truth. A week later, Nathan burst into the cafe like a kid who'd seen a car crash in real life. "Dude. You saw the drama, right?" I shook my head. "Been working non-stop." He pulled out his phone and showed me a viral video. It was Ryan getting slapped across the face by a woman who stormed into Emily's office, screaming that he was a cheater, a liar, a parasite. Security tried to escort her out, but not before she pulled out a stack of photos and waved them around, yelling about how Emily had ruined her family. "Is this what female empowerment looks like now?" she shouted. The video cut off as security dragged her out and everyone else just stared in horror. Emily didn't come out of her office. But word got out fast. People who once praised her as a girl boss now called her a homewrecker in a power suit. Sponsors dropped. Product deals were pulled. Her PR team scrambled, but the damage was done. The next week, she quietly made Ryan resign, then paid his wife off to post a fake apology video online, claiming the photos were photoshopped and she just had a mental breakdown. It worked for maybe 3 days. Then more photos leaked. A competitor company used them in a subtle dig at her brand. The snowball rolled fast. Emily started disappearing from ads, even the ones she once starred in herself. Meanwhile, I kept my head down. Worked on optimizing our weekend hours, updated the POS system, hired another barista. The business was growing. I wasn't just healing, I was winning. Emily came by once or twice to visit Sophie. She looked drained. Hollow. Less like the woman I married and more like a shadow trying to remember who she used to be. She stayed polite, never said much, but one night she lingered at the door after Sophie went to bed. "James," she said, voice barely a whisper, "do you ever think about starting over?" I didn't even blink. No, her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but I didn't give her space. I closed the door slowly but firmly. That became a pattern. She'd show up sometimes, try to make small talk, ask about my life, our daughter, the cafe. Once, she asked if I needed investment. "I have some funds frozen, but once things clear, I could." "Emily," I said, "we're not business partners. We're not friends. We're not family. We're nothing. Please stop pretending we're still connected." She nodded like she understood, but I could tell it cut deep. One night, she came over after clearly drinking. She smelled like whiskey and regret. "I messed up, James," she slurred. "I chose the wrong damn person. I thought I needed excitement, but what I really needed was peace. And you gave that to me. You gave me everything. And I spit on it. I'm sorry." I let her finish. I didn't yell. I didn't forgive her. I just waited until she stopped talking and said, "I hope you heal, but I'm not your redemption arc." She left without saying anything else. Later that month, Nathan brought a new friend to the coffee, a woman named Claire. Smart. Sharp. Chill vibe. We talked a little while she waited for her latte. Nothing flirty. Just easy conversation. After she left, Nathan leaned over and whispered, "She's single. Divorced. No drama. You should ask her out." I shook my head. "I'm not in a rush. You're allowed to be happy, James." "I am happy," I said, and I meant it. 2 weeks later, Claire posted a wedding photo with someone else. I hit like on the post and smiled. Her company started ordering coffee from us regularly. Her husband was apparently obsessed with our cinnamon cold foam. Good for them. Meanwhile, the Emily and Ryan saga took another sharp dive. Ryan had some kind of breakdown. Came back to the office one day in the middle of a board meeting, asking where Emily was, carrying a bouquet and that same damn cologne. He waited in her office. When she walked in, he stood up and pulled a knife again. This time, Emily pressed charges. He was arrested again, and this time, she didn't bail him out. Days later, his younger brother came by demanding money, screaming outside her building, saying she owed their family something. Security dragged him away too. But it was clear now, her past wasn't letting go. The office lost more staff. People didn't feel safe. No one wanted to work under someone whose love life caused lockdown drills. Nathan told me later that Emily tried to move to another firm, but most companies passed. The ones that didn't lowballed her so hard it was insulting. The woman who used to have it all was now radioactive. And me? I was okay. Still waking up early to prep pastries. Still walking Sophie to school. Still locking the cafe at 9 and going home to a house that felt lighter every day. There were moments when I'd think about how it all started, meeting her in college, us building a life, her chasing ambition while I anchored the home. And then I'd look around and realize I wasn't bitter anymore. Just glad I got out before I lost myself completely. Nathan asked me once, "Aren't you curious how she and Ryan started?" I thought about it, then answered honestly. Maybe once. But even if it hadn't been him, it would have been someone else. People don't betray you because someone tempted them. They betray you because they wanted to and just needed an excuse. He whistled low. That's cold, man. No, I said. That's peace. Divorce countdown, 0. Officially, finally, free. It's funny how when something really ends, you don't feel it like a sharp cut, you feel it like silence, like when the ringing in your ears finally stops and you realize you've been tense for years. That's what it felt like the first few weeks after the divorce was finalized. There was no huge celebration, no impulsive Vegas trip or symbolic haircut. Just quiet. Just peace. The kind that makes you breathe deeper without even realizing it. My cafe was solid now, business stable, regulars loyal, staff dependable. Sophie was thriving, her drawings had improved, her mood more steady. She didn't ask about Emily as much anymore. Maybe she sensed it, maybe she didn't need to, or maybe she just realized like I had that life was better when the energy in the room wasn't holding its breath. And for a while, everything just worked. The apartment was clean, the routine was solid, and I finally had the bandwidth to start planning a second location. Nothing crazy, just a cozy corner spot in a neighborhood with good foot traffic and office lunch crowds. Then one rainy Thursday, just as we were closing, she showed up. Emily. Soaked, hair sticking to her face, blazer creased, clutching a cheap umbrella that looked like it came from a gas station. Her makeup had smudged and she smelled faintly of wine. "James," she said, voice raw, "can I come in for just a minute?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stepped aside and let her in. She didn't sit. She stood by the counter, staring at the espresso machine like it might judge her. "I saw Sophie's art online," she said. "She's gotten better. More confident." I nodded. "She's doing well." "That's good," she whispered. Then she turned to me, eyes bloodshot but locked in. "I know I don't deserve anything. I know what I did. I know I said I was sorry. I know it doesn't fix a damn thing. But I can't keep pretending like I'm okay. James, I'm not okay. I'm drowning." I didn't speak. She stepped closer. "I ruined everything good in my life. I thought I was chasing something better, something more exciting, something I deserved. But I already had everything. I had you. I had our daughter. I had a home. And I threw it away for a man who lied about everything. I got played, James. I got used. And now I'm alone and humiliated and I don't know how to move forward without you." Her voice cracked then, and for a second, I saw the woman I used to know. The one who fought so hard to build her own company. The one who once cried when I surprised her with flowers and a homemade cake because she thought she'd never be loved like that. But love without respect is just noise. She took a deep breath. If you can find it in your heart to give me another chance, I swear to God, I'll do better. I'll be better. I'll sign over anything. Put everything in your name. You don't even have to forgive me fully, just give me the space to prove I'm not the same person. I looked at her for a long time. Not with anger. Not with sadness. But with something colder clarity. Emily, I said slowly, I'm sorry you're hurting. But your apology doesn't obligate me to reopen a door you slammed shut. She blinked, stunned. But you're not being honest, I cut in. You're desperate. Maybe even regretful. But this isn't love. This is you trying to rewind time because now that you've fallen, you suddenly remember how safe the ground felt. Her lips trembled. That's not fair. No, what wasn't fair was you leaving me emotionally 2 years ago while still sleeping in my bed. What wasn't fair was letting another man text me from your phone. What wasn't fair was you telling me to forgive you after torching the one thing I built around Yumi trust. She opened her mouth, but I shook my head. We're not rebuilding anything. There's no foundation left. It's ash. What if I gave up everything? She asked, voice rising, panicked. What if I sold my shares? What if I walked away from the business? What if I gave you custody in writing forever? What if I let you control every dollar? You still don't get it, I said quietly. It was never about the money. You always thought everything could be solved with contracts, with leverage, with strategy. But relationships don't work that way. Not real ones. She started crying then, silent tears falling fast. Her whole body shook. I walked around the counter and opened the door. Go home, Emily. Sleep. Wake up tomorrow and start over, but not with me. She hesitated, like she wanted to argue again, but the fight in her was gone. She walked out slowly. When the door clicked shut behind her, I flipped the lock and turned off the lights. The next morning, I tossed her umbrella into the trash. A week passed. Then another. I didn't hear from her again. Not directly. But Nathan told me she'd officially sold her shares in the company and moved out of her penthouse into a rental outside the city. Said she was working part-time for a non-profit and trying to figure out who she is without a title. Good for her, I guess. Or maybe just karma finally doing its job. One night, as I was wiping down the counters, Sophie walked up to me with her tablet. Daddy, she asked, why does Mommy look sad in her pictures now? I paused, thinking carefully. Because sometimes, when people do things that hurt others, they carry that weight for a long time. Will she ever be happy again? Maybe, I said. If she learns how to be honest with herself, and with the people she loves. Sophie nodded thoughtfully, then went back to her homework. I watched her for a while. The light hit her face just right, and for a second, I saw a glimpse of the future college, careers, love, heartbreak, strength. I made a silent promise to always show her what accountability looks like, what boundaries look like, what real love looks like. And I knew in that moment, I'd already won. Not in revenge. Not in some twisted victory over Emily or Ryan. But in peace. In survival. In clarity. I flipped the cafe sign to closed, grabbed my keys, and stepped into the cool night air. The past no longer chased me. And I had no plans of chasing it either. The end.